Excuse me. Good morning, Team Impact. I'm here bright and early, ready to rock and roll on lesson 2. We're going to talk about equivalent ratios. Now, if you didn't do lesson 1 because you were absent or you were at WOW or whatever, and you're going to have to go in last night's link and watch that. But we're going to continue and move on with ratios today. Okay, let's get rocking and rolling. Equivalent ratios. Ratios that are equivalent can be simplified to the same values, right? Just like an equivalent fraction, essentially, right? So if you look at 4 to 5, if we scale it up, it's times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. These three ratios are all equal. Same here, times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. So as long as you're multiplying both numbers by the same factor, all right, it will become an equivalent ratio. The factor or multiplier in which both numbers in a ratio are multiplied to form an equivalent ratio. Okay, so we just talked about this. We're going to scale this up. Okay, 2 times 4, 5 times 4. 2 times 4, 5 times 4. And that's all we're doing is scaling it up. Okay, so once you get this, you can scale up or scale down if it can be reduced. Okay, all right, first fraction. Create two ratios that are equivalent to the ratios. All right, below. All right, I'm going to scale this up. Times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. Okay, we're scaling it up. Now, in this case, they're both even. I'm going to scale it down. Divided by 2 is 9. Divided by 2 is 6. And I'm going to take it down again. I'm going to divide them both by 3. Divided by 3 is 3. Divided by 3 is 2. So these three ratios are equivalent. Okay? All right, so let's take it down. Divided by 2 is 3. Divided by 2 is 5. Remember the mental divisibility rules? These are vital. Okay, and that's why we went over those. Let's scale it back up. Let's go times 5. Times 5 is 15. Times 5 is 25. Okay? So, we can take a peek at those, all right? All right, next up. Determine if the ratios below are equivalent. If so, determine the multiplier or scale factor. So what did they multiply it to go up, and what did they multiply it to go down? A lot of different ways to do this. Let's start with the first way of just checking. This is times 4. 5 times 4 is 20, so yes, they're equal. All right, and the multiplier is 4. Makes sense? Next one up. Is this equal to this? Okay, well, let's try it. Divided by 2 is 6. Divided by 2 is 2, not 3, so no, they are not equal. All right, no. Number 6, all right, so this doesn't have a direct way to go there, so what do? Well, we can use our calculator and see if we come up with the same multiplier through division, okay? So I'm going to take 20 and divide it by 8, and I get 2.5. So 8 times 2.5 will give me that. Now, if I check this one, I'm going to take 15 and divide it by 6, and I also end up with 2.5. Okay? So, yes, and multiplier is 2.5. Okay? So, using our calculator, we can do this. Other ones, we can just do it mentally. All right? Scaling it up, scaling it down. All right. Audrey and Megan are decorating for a birthday party. Audrey hangs 4 streamers in the same amount of time that Megan hangs 6. if Audrey hangs 12 streamers, then how many streamers can Megan hang? And determine the scale factor, right? All right, so if Audrey hangs how many? 12. So that is going to be 4, all right, threes, 3, 3, 3, and 3. Okay, so this whole thing equals 12. Megan hangs how many? Megan, then how many streamers can Megan hang? All right, well, in this same amount of time. Well, if Audrey's hanging 12, all right, 4 times 3 is 12, all right, 6 times 3, all right, is going to be 18. So these would also be 3 as our factors, right? And this whole thing is going to equal 18. So our new ratio is going to be 12 to 18. Another way to look at this is 4 over 6 equals. All right. Now, we knew that Audrey, which is on the top of 4, Audrey hangs 12, and we could call this X. Okay. And now we have a proportion. A proportion is 2 equivalent ratios. So we could do this a couple of different ways. 4 times 3 is 12, and 6 times 3 is 18. Or we could do it another way when the numbers get a little bit bigger or when they become decimals. Watch this. Okay? We could take 12 times 6 and get 72. How did I get 72? I multiplied these two numbers. And now I'm just going to divide that by 4. So if I divide that by 4, you're going to see I come up with the quotient of 18, and X equals 18. So, all right, a couple different ways to look at it. This is more algebraically, or you can do it mentally if possible. Okay? So take that in, and I'll let you get caught up there. All right, let's flip the page here. Next up. Sally's summer punch recipe is a combination of lemonade and fruit punch. Sally uses 3 cups of lemonade for every 4 cups of fruit punch, 3 to 4. In order to make a batch for the 4th of July party, Sally uses 21 cups of lemonade. All right. How many cups of fruit punch will she use? All right. Well, they want us to scale this up using it in the same regard. But you know what? I'm going to use a proportion and make it a little bit easier. So I know I have 3 lemonades to 4 fruit punch equals, right? I'm going to scale this up. Now, I want to have 21 cups of lemonade. So 21 is going to go on the top, and X is going to go on the bottom. See what I've done there? I labeled these numbers so I knew where to put my 21 over here. So now, what times 3 is 21? 7. 4 times 7 is 28. So we're going to have 28 cups of fruit punch. So when we can do it mentally, it's better off like that. All right, number 8. It says, use your understanding of equivalent ratios to answer the questions. All right, use the pattern below to determine how many gray squares there would be if there are 15 white squares. Okay. Well, right now I know there's 4 gray, and I have 3 white. I don't want 3 white, I want 15 white squares. That's X. We've set up our proportion. All right, so clearly it's times 5. This is times 5, and X equals 20 gray. So once you get the knack for this, it becomes kind of fun. Let's take a peek at number 9. Mrs. Malone earns 2 hours of paid vacation for every 9 days she works. How many hours of paid vacation will Mrs. Malone earn after working 81 days? Okay. So let's get started. 2 hours of paid for every 9 days worked. So our initial ratio is 2 to 9. This is what? Paid. This is worked. Okay? That is important to label those. Now, I don't want 9 days worked. I want 81 days worked. We're going to call that X. Okay? And again, we clearly can see through our multiplication facts that it's times 9. This is times 9. So X is going to equal 18. All right? 18 what? Paid vacation. 18 hours paid vacation. However you want to label that. All right? Okay, let you get caught up there. And we're moving on. Number 10. A wrapping paper fundraiser sells rolls of gold and red wrapping paper. The ratio of gold rolls sold to red rolls sold is 5 to 8. Gold and red. If the school sells 78 rolls, then how many were gold? Okay. So right now, okay, we're looking for this equivalent fraction. Okay? Excuse me, I'm going to run to the restroom. Okay, guys. Sorry about that, but let's continue on. So let's go back over this question. The ratio of gold rolls sold to red rolls sold is 5 to 8. If the school sells 78 rolls, then how many were gold? We need this top number. Well, right now, if I add these two numbers, I've sold 13 total rolls. We don't want 13 total rolls. We want 78 total rolls. So when I add these two numbers, that numerator and denominator, it's going to equal 78. So I ask myself, all right, how did they scale this up? Well, it's interesting. How did I get from 13 to 78? So if I take if I take 78 and I divide it by 13, I end up with 6. So 13 times 6 is 78. So we're scaling this ratio up by a factor of 6. So I'm going to scale this up by 6 and get 30, and this up by 6 and get 48. And the question was, all right, then how many gold rolls? Well, the gold is on the top. So here it is, 30 gold rolls. So we can scale that up by knowing the total amount, by knowing how far we have to go. This is equivalent to this, right? Let's move on. There's a total of 30 puzzle pieces. 3 out of 5 are red. The remaining are black. How many puzzle pieces are black? Okay. Excuse me. Let's continue on here. All right, so let's go back over this. There's a total of 30 pieces. 3 out of 5 are red. Okay? And the remaining are black. All right? So that means we have 3 red, 2 black, because we have a total of how many? 5. 3 out of 5. So 3 out of 5 are red, 2 are black. Does that make sense to you? Now, we want to scale this up. All right? And to scale this up, we wanted to get it to 30 total pieces. Right? How many puzzle pieces are black? Well, how are we getting from 5 to 30? Times 6. So 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 6 is 18. Black is on the bottom, so it's 12 black. All right, 12 black pieces. And there we are. Okay. All right, last one. Jamal says 18 to 12 and 3 to 4 are not equivalent. Margie says they are. Who is correct? All right, well, let's take a look at this, and let me show you a quick way to do this. So is 18 to 12 equal to 3 to 4? Well, to get from 18 to 3, I'm going to divide that by 6, and if I divide that by 6, is not 4. So absolutely not equal. Not equal, all right? And Margie says they were equal, and Jamal says not. Who was correct? Jamal. My pencil is having problems here, people. All right, let's try this again. Jamal is correct. Okay, good lesson today. These questions are starting to get a little bit more challenging, which is what we need. You flip it over. This is your homework, the independent practice 1 to 8. Okay, enjoy.